We realized what happens is I'm an orphan, and I've been an orphan for a lot of years of my life, and so I'm very insecure. And when I feel loved, my creative energy flows, but when I feel criticized or analyzed or something, it does not flow. So what happened is last time in the first presentation, I felt loved by you all and appreciative of you all. And so it went really well. And Lynn told me how well it went, and several of you did. And so I said, gee, we should have had a recording of that, because that don't happen that often.
To prove love?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that, and also we're making podcasts, and Rad can kind of cut them up into bite-sized pieces of 5 to 7 minutes kind of thing. So I don't want to throw away my creativity anymore, which I've done a good deal in my life. We start out, so that's why we're recording. We start out, I think, partnering. We start out that way. It's mommy and me. And me and mommy, mommy and me. We start out learning how to speak, how to walk, how to eat, how to whatever.
You have to be loud.
What's that?
You have to be a little louder.
Talk louder?
Yep.
Otherwise it won't record.
All right.
Well, and Linda won't hear.
That's
All right.
true.
Good.
But I'm where the recorder is.
So what happens, I think, and what this is about, is that that deep desire to partner, that deep desire to connect, gets wounded easily. And I was the one in a family of 6 that wanted to cheer everybody up and wanted to make everybody happy. So I sang and did this and that when I was a little boy. And my family was flat-faced. You know what flat-faced is, right?
Yeah,
My
still
family was
faced.
flat-faced. And so I learned how insignificant I was to them. And these are the most important people in my life. These are my life and death people. This is my mother and my father and my brothers and my sister. So I think I've just recently learned to call that the creation of being an orphan. And I'm thinking orphan has a kind of psychology all its own. What I learned to do was to adapt and to adjust and try to anticipate and try to project and learn, and I'm very talented at that. So I'm a business consultant, and I can go into a company and really see what's possible, and I do a good job of that. But in my family, that worked really against me, because I developed patterns so that by time I was, say, dating age, adolescence or whatever, I already knew who you were before you could tell me. And I performed for what I believed who you were. Mm-hmm. That was my orphan. So I come into this room with an orphan awareness that as I said at the start, if I feel insecure, if I don't feel accepted, if I don't feel respected, say, then I get performative. And I want to show you how many PhDs I have. Or I want to show you how many books I've read. I want to show you I'm okay. You got to get it. I'm okay. I really am okay. Do you get that I'm okay? Like that. So that doesn't show up on the surface. But it drives this project because I believe we begin and then we repeat these patterns that helped us survive. I want to call that the orphan within. There's 2 characters within. There's many, because this is a theater. We all know that. But there's an orphan character and there's a golden, legitimate child within. That's the golden ball in the fairy tales. Princess and the Frog, her golden ball bounces into the cage. That's that. That's Iron John with the boy who wants to get free and Iron John's in a cage. That's a lot of stories in myth, and I've been reading about Ulysses lately and his suffering. There's a lot of of conditioning that helps us stay in that, and in culture. School alone would be enough. Be a good girl. Why are you talking to her right now? I mean, we're talking about math, you know? She's not talking. She gets an A, you got a C. How come you got a C? So forth. School does that, right? Religion does that. Mm-hmm. Anybody's religion. I'm not just talking Christianity or Judaism. I'm talking Muslim, whatever religion you got. They've been teaching you that you're an orphan in some way, and you got to perform in some way to be accepted and to make it. So those kind of conditioning things set you up and set your clients up for marriage. And the first thing you do when you pick someone is you are grateful. Imagine that. Usually you don't hear people saying he or she is really grateful for me. You hear them saying, I'm really grateful for them. Why? Oh, because they see me, they like me, they laugh at my jokes, they whatever. Partnering, then, that we've learned that is not conscious is being practiced and repeated. Right there. So I call that, in this model, the love's origin story. What happens when we get together? We get flooded with hormones. And that is an act of God. You can think of it that way. Whatever you want to call God, your higher power, I don't care what you call it. That's an act of God. You then have experienced, with the massive release of hormones, you have experienced creation. Maybe for the first time as an adult, you experience creation. You are changed. Something in you has more energy, your voice has more resonance, your body feels, you don't feel the aches and pains you felt last week. You're not worried about the aches and pains you felt 2 months ago. You're not running to the doctor, unless you're really messed up and then you go see one of you. But if you're within the, within the, what do they call that, the
Bell curve.
The bell curve, within the 70% of us, that's what happens. You are grateful and you start partnering. Why? Because you're grateful and you want to keep it going. So you're already making a deal. It doesn't take more than a couple hours or a week or something. You start making deals. I don't want to lose this. Do you like me? Do you like how I took you out on that date? Do you like my perfume? Do you like the dinner? Do you like my children by my last 4 marriages? That. So in the love's origin is the platform for what we're going to talk about, the 4 phases that I'm going to suggest. But they are sequential, but they're not like rigidly sequential. So before I do that, I'm going to read you a poem by Mary Oliver. May I?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, because this is the poem that this is the poem. Don't bother me, I've just been born. I like that. Yeah. She knows how to start a poem.
Yes, she does.
Don't bother me, I've just been born. The butterfly's looping flight carries it through the country of the leaves delicately, well enough to get it where it wants to go, wherever that is, stopping here and there to fuzzle the damp throats of flowers in the black mud. Up and down it swings, frenzied and aimless. Sometimes so long, delicious moments it is perfectly lazy, riding motionless in the breeze on the soft stalk of some ordinary flower. For long, delicious moments, it is perfectly lazy, riding motionless in the breeze on the soft stalk of some ordinary flower. I love that.
Yes.
The god of dirt came up to me many times and said so many wise and delectable things. I lay on the grass listening to his dog voice. I lay on the ground listening to his dog voice, his crow voice, his frog voice. Now, he said, and now. Now, he said, and now. which is nevertheless, and never once mentioned forever. That's the orphan. Will you love me forever? Never once mentioned forever, which has nevertheless always been like a sharp iron hoof at the center of my mind. Never once mentioned forever, which has nevertheless always been like a sharp iron hoof at the center of my mind. One or two things are all you need to travel over the blue pond, over the deep roughage of the trees, and through the stiff flowers of lightning. One or two things are all you need. Some deep memory of pleasure, some cutting knowledge of pain. But to lift the hoof, for that you need an idea. You get that? To lift the hoof, always been a hoof at the center of my mind. Something brings us here. This little kid that was insignificant and moved 20 times growing up and had all kinds of stuff, something brings this little boy in this room with you, all people I respect and admire, in your work and your presence. What would give me the courage to do that, if you think of it? How dare I do that? How dare I assume I have something to take your time? Your 2 hours or hour or whatever it is. How dare I? That kid would not. He stayed on the outside. He was an outsider. He was an orphan. He had no friends. He didn't volunteer in school. He was always the outsider. And he left home at 13. And he kept leaving home. He went through 2 divorces. He kept leaving, he kept leaving, he kept leaving, he kept leaving. What would give him the courage to be here with you and think he has something that you might want and take seriously? For that, she says, to lift the hoof, for that you need an idea. So I like to think that that's behind the idea of scaffolding, because I did practice as a therapist for 20 years and now I'm a coach, which is, mostly, don't tell the board, but it's really, there's a lot of therapy in there, right? We are who we are. I'm part psychiatrist, I'm part farmer, I'm part psychologist, I'm part coach, I'm part husband, I'm part daddy, I'm part a lot of stuff. So are you. One thing. All kinds of things. People sit down and they kind of go, oh, I know who you are. No, you don't. You have no idea who's sitting across from you in the room. None of us do. That's why we're at risk. That's why it's a very, very courageous profession. Because you don't know who walks in the door, and you don't know where they've been or how they've been wounded, and they don't know you either. You've got a nice face. Well, that face has lied to a lot of people. You got a nice voice. Yeah, I know. I used it on the teacher in college so I get an A. Yeah, I used my nice face on my boyfriend in my sophomore year. Yeah, I got a nice face and a nice voice, and I'm an attractive woman, but you don't know me at all, and I don't know you at all. Isn't that a good place to start? I have to remember that every single time I start with a brand new person. I have no idea who's in the room. And I don't dare assume that I do. Because the orphan will. The orphan will project so he or she is safe. I'll figure that out. I'll diagnose, I'll analyze, I'll set that up.